I grew up with video games. When I was around 3 years old, my grandpa gave me a Game Boy Color Pokemon Special Edition that I still own now. And because I was a literal 3-year-old, I didn't really understand things yet. I mean, I couldn't even wipe my own bum, so let alone understand that I had to talk to Professor Oak. To keep it short, I didn't get very far and played many games by trial and error. Fast forward to, I don't know, a few years or something, and my brother got a GameCube. And the first game that I can remember him playing was this game called Star Fox Adventures. Not long after, I also got this blue GameCube and I fell in love. I still don't know why I got it. I probably started crying or something, but it was amazing. I played many games like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Pokemon Colosseum, Billy Hatcher, Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I can go on and on. However, the game that for some reason always stuck with me was Star Fox Adventures. It seriously has a special place in my heart, even though I only recently finished it for the first time. Because remember, back then I didn't understand what I was doing. I couldn't understand English. Damn, I couldn't even speak or read my first language that well. So I used to always get stuck when playing games. Around a month ago, I suddenly had the urge to revisit Star Fox Adventures, and this time I actually finished it. And let me tell you, the nostalgia that I felt was phenomenal. That's why I'm currently making this video. I don't know which direction I want to take this video, but see it as a sort of review or something. Even though I might be very biased due to nostalgia, but I will try to look at it as fair as possible. And for the people that only know me from Elden Ring videos, this game is just like Elden Ring. For example, you can dodge roll. That's about it. Oh, and bosses. Sort of. I know JonTron made a video about this game like 20 years ago, and I will mention it a few times as well. First of all, the story. The story is not really interesting. It is literally your generic ass Nintendo story. There is this evil guy called General Scales and he wants to rule Dinosaur Planet or something. You first play as this crystal girl that confronts General Scale for some weird ass baby dinosaur bird. Also, why did they dress her like this? Is this game trying to make me a furry or some shit? The first thing that came to mind was Rule 34 and the weird ass shit people have probably made of her. You guys make me sick. But yeah, she gets thrown off General Scale's ship, or maybe not, and she goes to Krazoa Palace. Here she gets turned into a crystal. Get it? Because her name is Crystal. And after that, you're Fox McCloud and are given the mission to save Dinosaur Planet. You'll just have to play the game to know the rest. So there are a few things that I want to say about the story, and both points were brought to my attention while playing and after watching JonTron's video. First, the dinosaur language. It is weird that they made a whole language for this game just for the first, I don't know, 30 minutes. Fox will then get a translator and you'll never hear the language again. I thought it was pretty useless. You might be able to make the point of, well, not everyone speaks English, especially if they're literally from another planet. Okay, sure, but why put English words throughout sentences?
General Scales, Hiku, Kohud, or Taskuki, Eve Dinosaur Planet.
Another point that has been made by OG Star Fox fans is that this is not a Star Fox game, and while this doesn't bother me at all, I do want to say that it indeed didn't have to be called Star Fox Adventures. It could have just been Dinosaur Planet, and it would have probably been an amazing game as well. But yeah, I understand why Nintendo and Rare chose to use Star Fox. I mean, a known and beloved character slash crew will of course sell better than just a new IP called Dinosaur Planet.
Hello, I like money.
I personally didn't grow up playing Star Fox 64 or the other Star Fox games, so it doesn't really affect my experience. But other than that, I don't have anything else to say about the story. It's just very simple and generic. Still, it's fun enough to keep me going. Now, let's talk gameplay. First of all, this game has a lot of puzzles, and most puzzles are pretty fun. They aren't too easy or too difficult. I mean, it's literally a game for teens or kids. Boss fights are also fun, however, they are not really the boss fights that you expect. It's more of a Zelda or Super Mario boss fight where there is a certain way you have to defeat them. Besides, there are only 4 real boss fights, if I remember correctly, so don't expect Elden Ring type bosses. Oh, and now that I mentioned Zelda, I have a feeling that this game is heavily inspired by Zelda. It even has annoying ass shit, for example, when you pick up a new item, every every single time they'll show you this f***ing unskippable animation, like I don't give a fuck about an egg or something, just let me play the game. It also has a very simplistic loop: fly to planet, get a spellstone, fly back, put spellstone in a spellstone thing, get Krazoa spirit, go to Krazoa palace, put the spirit in a Krazoa thing, and repeat. I get that someone might think this is repetitive, but I didn't have a problem with it. It just made the game a bit more predictable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. Another thing that I want to mention about the Zelda inspiration part, instead of getting new gadgets or items, you get new spells, which you then use to progress in the story, so that's also something that I want to mention. You have a buddy called Slippy, and he gives you advice throughout the game, which is pretty useful in a lot of moments, but the negative thing is sometimes it is so vague that I had to use YouTube to know what I was supposed to do. This wasn't really that bad, it only happened twice. I still wanted to point it out though. I'm probably just a dumbass for not being able to understand a kid's game. You have another buddy called Tricky. He's a baby dinosaur thing that follows you around for the most part of the game and does certain tasks to solve puzzles. I think he can also help in combat, but I wasn't really a fan of it, so I only tried it once. Some might hate Tricky, but I thought it was pretty fun to have a companion. It doesn't make you feel alone. And of course you have flying and racing. Flying Fox's spaceship is pretty smooth, I have nothing to say about that. Racing in the weird Hoover snowmobile thing is also really fun. I would say even more fun than flying. Here are a few things that I did actually
dislike.
First of all, climbing. Going down a ladder, sure, but going up ladders and rocks is so tedious. Fox takes his sweet ass time doing it, and there's no sprint button or anything to make him go faster. This might be a bit nitpicky, but personally I found this the most frustrating thing about the game. It just wastes so much time for no reason. Of course, combat is something you'll have to do quite a bit in the game, especially close combat, and while the combat is very simplistic and has a lot of variation in animations to keep it less boring, I eventually just found myself just running past enemies if I didn't have to kill them. Combat just isn't rewarding. Yeah, at times you have to make progress in the story, but other than that, there are so many enemies you'll eventually just run past because it's not worth it. To be clear, combat itself was pretty fun, just not rewarding. Oh, but finally, here are a few things that didn't really bother me, but if you're too used to modern gaming, you might hate these features. No fast travel, and yeah, there are a few places where you have to go multiple times, and I know some will dislike the idea of not being able to fast travel somewhere you've been before. Also, no autosaves, which weren't really common back then. My game crashed once and I forgot to save, so I had to do a whole part all over again and watch a cutscene I've watched before. Which brings me to my next point, unskippable cutscenes. So for me, crashing happened only once, but if I had to rewatch multiple cutscenes even though I've already seen them, I'd like to be able to skip them. So talking about overall enjoyment, I loved every moment of it, except two things. First, Dragon Rock. The planet feels very uninspiring, empty and rushed in my opinion, and don't get me started on the rail shooting bullshit, it's awful. Okay, in their defense, I can aim well with a controller, but I just hate that I couldn't even control where I was going. And the second thing was the General Scales fight. So this is a pretty big spoiler, so skip to the timestamp on the screen to avoid it. However, I don't think anyone is going to play it here, and it's already 20 years old. But the whole game, yeah, the whole game, it's General Scales this, General Scales that, and then you finally have the standoff, and guess what happens? You pull out your staff and it cuts to a cutscene where this weird entity kills him. At that point, I was so disappointed and mad. If I didn't suck this game's then I would give this game a 1 out of 10 just for this moment. You don't know how hyped I was to fight him. But no, it's just a prank, bro. Okay, OG fans of Star Fox will love the final boss. I mean, even I was surprised by it. I do think the final fight itself wasn't amazing or anything. It was just okay, but it's possible that at that moment I was still mad at the General Scales part. So this is where I would rate this game. Personally, I would give it like a 9 out of 10, being completely biased, even though the General Scales fight made me extremely disappointed. But if I have to be real, it's probably a 7 out of 10 for people that didn't grow up playing it, maybe even a 6 or maybe an 8, I don't know. Still, if you have the possibility to get a copy of this game, you should definitely at least try it. I actually wanted to make a sort of funny video, but it turned out to be more of a review. Well, Hopefully you enjoyed it, and let me know if you want me to make more of these. Thanks for watching, like, sub with notifications on, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.